Hi guys, I just thought I'd do a slightly different setup today because I just felt like it. Um, I am once again all over the place. However, it's good news, really. I Yesterday I had almost an hour's worth of telephone conversation with my foster mother. She decided to call me from the south of France, finally. I had been rather on, I suppose you call that on tenterhooks for them to make contact again with me because I'd done a lot going towards them, right? I had made this booklet, I'd sent the letter with the booklet and the photographs and all the rest of it, and I just felt like this, there has to be some kind of a move from them to me if they want it. If they want to have this contact, then they will have to decide for themselves. And so I am really, you guys don't do this. Don't go into the past because it is Pandora's box. Unless you're prepared. I was not prepared for this. It turns out, put very simply, that everybody hated my mum, which is something I can remember now that I have, been exposed to this again. I still think it's very nasty of people to go on about your mum. Isn't that very impolite to just say negative things about somebody's mother? It's just that she believes that this is the way things were, that is the way she was, really. And I have, of course, in the 20 odd years that I've lived with her, after all the drama and the divorce and all that, I've seen very many different sides of my mother. However, I can sort of see what it is that they were on about. I also think they were very unfair and that nobody helped her and that she was very much, she was miserable and depressed and nobody was paying any attention to her. So this foster mother, I suppose, it turns out I stayed with them for only about 5 months or so, 5.5, maybe 6 months. So not a whole year at all. And yeah, so they used to know the family that I stayed with back then when I was 7 years old. They used to be friends of my dad's. They were in music, all of them, and they played clarinet and hobo and those types of instruments, classical music. And my grandfather even used to. It turns out that the relationship between my grandparents on my dad's side, whom I have never seen after, after that period, wasn't so great either. So my foster mother, or either when she was young or when she was already married, lived in the same street that my grandparents used to live. And so my grandfather used to come for her to come get her and her daughter to go for walks, which is something quite striking. And she said, because he had to get away from that horrible woman, meaning my grandmother on my father's side. So it's it's all very miserable and very conflicted, and there's a whole lot of struggle going on. And there used to be anyway. And I'm so glad, really. I'm not saying don't do this. I'm just saying be prepared, okay? Because I was kind of prepared that there was stuff going to come out in, I suppose. And I wasn't really afraid of it anymore. So I just need to know. I need to know as much as possible. I need to know everything. I am really glad that I have opened Pandora's box, you guys. It's but it's I'm also very excited and very. I have had less stress now in the past 24 hours since this phone conversation, because I feel much more like, there's the cogs are turning again. The process, the locomotive is chugging along, and time will tell what we have to make of this, right? So I just, I don't know why I'm laughing because none of it is really funny, except it feels liberating. Yes, it does. I feel freer because I know I finally get to have a handle on what it was that they were also obsessed about, and it's still quite mysterious, and there is still going to be bits of astrology that I will have to throw at you because I am figuring things out as I go along, and I've got the birth dates of people, so I can make horoscopes and I can put things together and see. Okay, that's why you hated that person so much, or that's why you were on their team, or that's why I can kind of understand all this. So I put all that into I put all the miserable, horrible conflicts and all the feelings of isolation and depression and abandonment. I'm putting all of that, not only my own but everybody's really, into the study of astrology. Really, just to chose to see what comes out of this. And there's a couple of really interesting points. So I'll be getting back to this probably tomorrow. I just want to still show you my little oracle cards that I made, and I will do this now. And then after that is all been uploaded, I will just go to town, go to a witchy shop that I haven't seen yet, and have a bit of a shop around because all this, my mind is just like all over, and I'm. It's been an interesting couple of days before this even came out. I suppose I had a lazy Sunday. No, we didn't have a lazy Sunday because we went for quite a big walk, and before that there was driving and there was talking to people and there was all sorts of, you know who I mean, this is so funny. So yes, I'm doing way better, but it's also rather scary. And I was watching the Dutch version of the movie, the animation movie by Laika called Coraline and the Secret Door, or some such title. I love that stuff. Paranorman and this one, I mean, those are my favorite animation movies. Gods, with all the spooky stuff and witches and all that. So in that movie, Coraline, there is two mothers. The girl in the story has two mothers. The real one, who's kind of cranky and busy all the time and doesn't really have time to talk to her, and the sort of fantasy or weird, scary mother figure who turns, at the end of the story, she sort of turns into a spider. It's very well made, very very pretty. I like the way it's drawn and all that. It's because I'm a drawer myself. I like that stuff. But I realized I was watching this yesterday afternoon after the phone talk, and because I was like, I don't know what to think of all this, and I took notes, and I just have to wait for it to sort of settle all. So I'll just watch this movie again. I had seen it a couple of days ago. I like to watch that type of movie several times in a row, just to look at all the details and how they've done things and all that. So, and I realized that the spider woman, I hate spiders. Yuck, terrible, awful creatures. I mean, I don't hate spiders. I am scared of spiders. That's the truth right there. But the spider woman, the witch from hell, or whatever you want to call her, that was my real mom. My mom was like that. And the other one, the normal one, she would have been more like my foster mother, to the extent that any of this really works. I mean, it doesn't really make sense at all. My foster mom was a really nice, giving, caring person who tried her best. And they were, the whole family, they accepted me into their home. And it took 2 days for people to let them know what had happened to me. Well, after I'd been kidnapped by my mother, by my real mother. And they were just left there for 2 whole days. I mean, I suppose it could have been weeks even, but somebody phoned them up late in the evening, the second day after, and to tell them what had happened to me and that I was safe and that everything was fine. But nobody's ever asked them how upsetting that was and how, you know, how much they invested in me. So all that story, their part of the story, has come out now, and I'm so glad that I went through with this and that I made you know, the moves and sent the messages again and again and just kept at it until we got this contact established. Because, you know, I think it's only fair for her also. She's almost 90 years old. In a couple of weeks' time, she will be 90, this woman. And she gets this chance to express herself and to tell me how it's been and all that. So I think that's pretty cool. It's worth Pandora's box. So, Oracle, this is my little container that I put together to put, it's just a ribbon around them. And this is what it looks like. It's got a bit of fake fur on the top and just sort of cobbled together. I've got two sort of homemade printed decks. So in here, so put together, they're the same way that they have been made. They look like this. And to me, this is the one that's most important right now. This is really the old stone deck that I've shown you before, that has lots of very primal stone monuments, or you know, very basic, abstract, almost abstract, pure natural shapes in it. Mountains right there, see? So I've shown you this before. I have added a couple of cards to this. This is the first one right here. That is from a shrine to the Dutch goddess of these regions, of this part of the world, Nehelenia. It's there's her name down the bottom. These are Roman shrines, and there have been quite a number of them that have been found. I suppose a couple of decades ago, and there's even a new temple that has been erected, and they do a ritual every day, which I think is pretty amazing. Anyway, this is a photograph, I hope you can see that, of Sheelan Jake in Ireland at Kilnaboy, where there's this female figure right on top of an old chapel at the front door, over the front door. And I just thought, I found these photographs again, and I thought they belonged in with, that's a sort of a pool of water inside a rock, also in Ireland. Anyway, there's more. I can always show you the whole deck if you want it, but the principle's the same with this one and with this one. These aren't completely finished yet, in the sense that I am doing, backing them with an orange marker, acrylic marker, and the others still have to be done, right? The principle's the same. I make a Word document where I insert the shape that I want. In this case, it's this rounded, you know, corner rounded square, more or less. And then I copy paste that shape as many times as I want to. And so in this size, you will have 6 of these to an A4 sheet, okay? And so there's 24 of these, and I think that'll be it for now, for a bit. And I will just, I call this bit, I call my compassion deck, because it has really basically all sorts of old images, photographs that or even a photo that I took of a photograph, you know, with the phone, and I inserted the photograph into the shape on the document. So that's what it looks like. You get all these pictures like this, see? And some of them are oil paintings, and some of them are photographs of, this is rather a pretty one, I think. It's an oil painting I made, I suppose, 20 odd years ago. And there's photographs. This is a photograph of a nice rose, and there's a couple more roses like that. And each time I put a little a text bar in here, just like the old stone deck also has. Let me see. Has an inserted text bar. Only here I printed them I computer wrote the word guardian in here, and so here, for example, it has animal like that, so that looks rather more clean and easy to read. And for these, because all this is really personal to me, I did a handwritten little, blip of text. And over this is the oldest oracle that I ever made. So it's actually an oracle card of an oracle, which I think is utterly funny. And it says here, soul cards, too many. That's what it says on the thing right there. I used to, these are little tiny drawings. The cards on here are in actual fact, they're about this big. 4 by, I don't know, 4.5 by 2.5 centimeters, something like that. And there's a little white piece of paper glued onto a larger cardboard in that pinkish color. And each tiny white, stamp size, postage stamp size piece has some sort of a tiny drawing on it. Or I was fascinated with oracles and with the fact that you have a selection of images that represent the whole world and your whole life in a way, in some sort of a mystical, deep way where everything is connected to each other and all that. That's stuff that I've always loved very much. So that's why I just made a card out of the photograph of this set. It doesn't really do anything other than just show you how immensely many ways there are of looking at things, right? So that's this one. And here's one of a drawing that I made very recently of both me and my husband as children. In the originals of the photographs that I used to make these drawings, we weren't together, of course. There's a photograph of him looking like this, more or less, except he's got a darker jacket on. And there's a photograph of me as a baby sitting on my mom's lap. But because of the way my husband and I interact and the way we helped each other through the hard times and still do every day of our lives, we so much have this, we carry each other, right? And so I just thought I will try what this looks like. I still think it's slightly weird, but the weirdness is part of this, okay? All this is really, I think it's very Halloweeny. It's like my Halloween deck, this thing. There's the house that I made, the cardboard box that I turned into a little house for my poetry booklets. And this is the drawing that I made in December last year to represent the way I felt when I was in the foster home, that same foster home right there, and so on and so forth. So I am basically also showing this to show that you can make your own deck without going to printers, which is, of course, the next step. Wouldn't it be the next step to take something like this to a printer and have it done properly? Now it's just, wallpaper, glue and cardboard as usual. But I like to sort of not let go things out of the house, I suppose. Yeah, a bit. This stuff is just it's always been very personal. And putting it up on the tube is already rather a big deal. This is another rather nice oil painting. I mean, it's nice to me because I like the way I felt when I was making this. It was a very peaceful place, and I was just, at this point, I had only just started working with oil paint, and I was experimenting 24 hours a day. It was great fun. I was in as happy as I am now doing the tube. I was back then doing oil paint. This I thought was a really pretty rose with those 7 buds around it. To me, that just symbolizes something or other. So it'll go really well with the card with the soul oracle like this, because it's the same type. Yeah, I love that stuff. This is the first oil painting I ever made, and I suppose it's a self-portrait in sort of tints of white. I'd only just realized that I had a couple of tubes of oil paint, I don't know what you call them. And in the dark blue and the dark green and the white, maybe 2 tints of white. And I just went all of a sudden like, how about I go seriously to try. I didn't know, I just had to, I didn't go to a course or anything, of course. I just have my father's genes in this. He could do this stuff as well. So I've seen him paint from when I was really small. And I remember that. So his approach to oil paint is quite different from mine, just as far as I know. Anyway, I just went in and just did whatever I liked. So I didn't have to do it for money either. So the important bit about this painting to me, and why it is, the reason why it is also in my Compassion Oracle, is that there is, right there is a tree standing there, and there is a heart hung on chains at on one of those branches of the tree. And you can even see a kind of a reflection of the whole thing in a pond beneath it. I suppose it's an element that I found in a fairy tale of some sort. The sun is coming in, so there's a big solar ray coming out like that. I will just have to wrap this up really soon. I found this in a fairy tale about somebody's heart being, out there and not inside the person. And I think I don't know, I read this somewhere. And it kind of stuck with me because that's the way I've always felt. I used to feel like that all the time. Like I didn't have any control, I didn't have any access, I didn't know who I was, any of it. So all these cards really kind of represent parts of of the search. Here it says mirror image. It's like a circle around the sun, a halo around the sun, except there's no sun, right? So to me that's icky and scary. And so this is another one. This is like it's one of the last oil paintings I made. Sorry, Puss, you'll just have to wait for a bit. Where is a river, and you can't see this, can you? Let me put it in a bit closer. And down here, anyway, there's lots of details and figures and what have you, but this is like the normal world where this is the house that we live in with rooms, and there's no real symmetry or there's no real knowledge of what it is that there's just bits and pieces, right? In the material world and in the where we come from, and physically and genetically and with our heritage and all that is just a big jumble. And over here would be the other side, the side of the spirit, the side where everything is pure and potential. There's just the potential right there. So where this is the house and you have no idea where to go in really, would be the self in its potential. Only to get at it is quite a different story. And there's some kind of an angel figure at the top here who's letting down a fishing line and, that type of stuff. So it's rather a big painting, and it turns out I enjoy this painting. It's on my wall in the hallway more and more. I am very glad to say that I enjoy most of what I have made. Here is another rather silly example. It'll take forever to describe them all. It just says the word shaman right here, and there's a skull next to it. And the whole thing is made so as to look like Italian Venetian glass with beads, where you have beads that have colorful material inside them, and there's a layer of transparent glass over the top. My mom had a necklace and I still have it. I don't have the necklace as such, I have the beads, and I've restrung them into a very, very nice necklace that I wear sometimes. And I used to be nuts about those beads. It's just another representation really of it was to me always like the life that I want is inside the beads, and there's this difference. I'm looking out from the outside, looking into the world where things are happening, and I don't really. So there's a lot of that type of vibration going on. There's a nice fly agaric, and it says connect the dots in the. Anyway, so I just thought I'd show you these real quickly. There's I can tell a story for every card, and I just thought maybe this will be inspiring to you at some point or other. I find it rather inspiring to have the photographs that hurt me most of all. Let me find that one. Oh yeah, this is the one that's most painful to me. That's me and my real scary mother. And it says in the text bar, say yes to the dress. I still got that red dress. I still got it. I sometimes wear it even. And my mother loved me very much, and she was a very great person in some ways. And yeah, so in memory of her as well, because I'm supposed to not believe what people are telling me. So with that, I think I will leave you and I will go to the witch's shop, and I will see you guys tomorrow, where I will probably bore the pants off you with a long, lengthy tale about what Mercury, the planet Mercury, is doing in all this. So from underneath the solar ray here, bye for now, and thank you very much for being here.